We've come to Scarborough for the weekend with Aunty Bessie, and we've just had fish and chips near the Scarborough Harbour. It's a bit like Blackpool, but much colder because it's placed on the North Sea and it's very rugged. You can hear the seagulls. There's a lighthouse out there. I think Wal's going to walk to that. Over there, and if you look around to the side, up the back, if I can zoom in a bit, you can see the hotels. This is an enclosed harbour and it's fairly protected, so there's a lot of fishing and a lot of trawlers. They seem to have loads of shellfish that they go looking for. Just above the shops on that rocky promontory, you can see the remains of Scarborough Castle. Molly Malone's dressed crabs. Wonder what they look like. This is a view from the pier. Scarborough's pleasure steamers. We stayed at New Southlands Hotel up high on the south end of the South Bay, where most of the hotels are. And there was a funicular that went right down to the edge of the water. It was extremely rough. The sea was very angry that day, my friends. These beachside bungalows are part of the spa and were built around the mid-1800s. They're on the undercliff of the South Cliff. The Belvedere Gardens form part of the South Cliff Gardens, and they are designed in an Italian fashion. It's amazing that anything grows here because it's extremely windswept, but somehow the gardens just create a lovely quiet haven away from the wind. They were just a short walk away from our hotel. The Rose Garden was created in 1883 and there are over 1,400 rose bushes planted in the large rosary. They're sheltered from the east wind by hundreds of conifers and deciduous trees. 15 miles north of Scarborough and 5 miles south of Whitby is Robin Hood's Bay, a small fishing village and a bay located within the North York Moors National Park. We walked past all the beautiful little shops down the main street. It was extremely steep. Although fishing and farming were the original industries here, now Robin Hood's Bay mostly relies on tourism. There's a tourist information centre right down near the beach, and we were told that almost 200 houses had been swept into the ocean over the years. Just 5 miles north of Robin Hood's Bay is Whitby, and this is where Captain Cook served his apprenticeship. So we visited Whitby Abbey, and it was extremely windy and cold. The ruins were awesome, and it shows what a magnificent place it must have been. Whitby Abbey was a 7th century Christian monastery that later became a Benedictine abbey. The abbey and its possessions were confiscated by the Crown during the dissolution of the monasteries under Henry VIII. The abbey is situated on the east cliff overlooking the North Sea and was Bram Stoker's inspiration for Dracula. Whitby is split by the River Esk into the north and south side. Walking along the riverside, we saw a replica of Captain Cook's Endeavour. Aunty Bessie suggested that we have a lunch of fish and chips at the famous Magpie Cafe, but when we saw the queue, we decided to go elsewhere, and we had very nice fish and chips there too. We walked across the bridge to the south side of Whitby to find Captain Cook's Museum and all the shops that sell jet, which is famous in this area. Just south of Whitby is the village of Goathland. This village was the setting of the fictional village of Aidensfield in the Heartbeat TV series set in the 1960s. Many landmarks from the series are recognisable, including the stores, the garage and funeral directors, the pub and the railway station. The pub is called now the Goathland Hotel, but in the series it is the Aidensfield Arms. After filming for some years, a replica was built in the studio. Pat and I pumped petrol from the Aidensfield garage. And there is the Aidensfield Arms, now the Goathland Hotel. On the way back from Goathland, we passed through York and visited the Yorkshire Centre. Prior to the development of the Coppergate shopping centre, archaeologists started digging on the site, which had been a sweet factory. So between 1979 and 81, the York Archaeological Trust unearthed the remains of 10th century Viking Age buildings from the Viking city of Jorvik. The remains lay in damp clay, similar to peat bog, and these conditions helped to preserve everyday Viking items such as wood, leather, cloth, bugs, and even a Viking toilet. As well as a museum with all the artefacts, there's also a time warp ride which takes you around a little village with figures doing the things that the Vikings would do, playing games, sewing, cooking, and so on.